Recording in progress.
श्रीहरये नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। कृष्णाय परमात्मने नमः। श्रीकान्तो मातुलो यस्य जननी सर्वमङ्गला जनकशङ्करो देवः तं वन्दे कुञ्जराननम्। योऽन्तःप्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। श्रीहरये नमः। कृष्णाय परमात्मने नमः। Namaste to all of you. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuhu atmanaha. This is what Bhagavan said when he was talking about karma, nishkama karma. He started by saying that, hey, Nishkama karma, engaging in your duty as an offering to Ishvara, is the Bahiranga sadhana or the introductory sadhana that is needed, the austerity that one needs to take up to be able to get to the state of dhyana. So the subject matter of the 6th chapter is Dhyana Yoga. And interestingly, Bhagavan starts with what are the preparatory steps that are needed for one to be able to get the mind to the level of quietude that is needed for one to be able to sit in a place and engage the mind in meditation without distraction. For that, there is an Antaranga sadhana and a Bahiranga sadhana, and the Bahiranga sadhana was Karma Yoga and Karma Phala Sannyasa. And Bhagavan stressed the importance of that in the first 4 verses of this chapter. He started this chapter by saying that, hey Arjuna, अनाश्रितः कर्मफलं कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्यासी च योगी च निरग्निः न च अक्रियः. Hey, let me tell you who is a real sannyasi. A sannyasi is a karma phala sannyasi. Yam sannyasam iti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava na hyasanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. So without giving up that as a sankalpa, without sankalpa sannyasa, you cannot become a yogi. So this is a preparatory. And he said, Arurukshor muner yogam karma karanam uchyate. Why should I engage in activity? Because only by engaging in our duties on a day-to-day basis that you can become an Arurukshu, or somebody who climbs up this state. And once you have got there, yoga rudhaha tasyaiva shamah karanam uchyate. At that point of time, then you can work on your mind. You do not need to worry about your external activities. But that is at a second stage. First, you have to work on the arurukshu, and then you can become an arudha. And yadahi nendriyartheshu na karma swanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhas tadochyate. Then he described the state of a yogarudha, and to get to that state, Bhagavan said, Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuhu atmanaha. Hey Arjuna, let me tell you, you are responsible for your own development, your own upliftment. A man is Uddared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet. You are your own friend, you are your own foe. And he said, you have the ability to lift yourself. This should not be read as an ego boost, or in fact it is the opposite. a self upliftment is completely possible only when you completely surrender your ego. So Bhagavan, a karma yogi is somebody who repeatedly tries to minimize his ego and engages in the activity without his will or without his likes and dislikes. So, in fact, the very act of karma yoga is to minimize the likes and dislikes that one has. So, with that, Bhagavan said, Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atma eva hi atmano bandhuhu atma eva hi atmanaha ripuhu. And now, what sort of an Atma is a friend to himself? What sort of an Atma is an enemy to himself? So, Atmaiva Bandhuhu, Atmaiva Ripuhu, Atmanaha Ityuktam. You said Atma is the friend and Atma is the foe. Tatra, in that, Kim Lakshana Atma, Atmano Bandhuhu. What kind of an Atma is a friend to himself? Kim Lakshano va Atma, Atmano Ripuhu. Ripu means an enemy, a foe. Bandhu is a friend, a relative. So, what kind of a person makes himself a friend of himself nor a foe of himself? For that, Bhagavan has something to say. Comes the 6th verse of Bhagavad Gita in the 6th adhyaya. Let us read this. Anjali ji, can you read with me? Hello? Gayatri ji, can you read?
Yeah, I can do.
Okay. Let's read. Let me pull the screen again. Okay. Bandhuratmatmanastasya
Bandhuratmatmanastasya
yenatmaivatmana jitaha
yenatmaivatmana jitaha
anatmanastu shatrutve
anatmanastu shatrutve
vartetatmaiva shatruvat
vatretatmaiva shatruvat
varteta atma eva vartetatmaiva shatruvat
vartetatmaiva shatruvat
bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat.
We are not able to hear you, Arvind.
Sorry. Aha. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve varteta atmaiva shatruvat. So Bhagavan further explains who is a friend of himself and who is an enemy of himself. Bandhuhu atma atmanaha tasya. Bandhuratmatmanastasya. That is a samasapada. It is a compound word. Bandhuhu atma atmanaha tasya. There are 4 words that join and make this compound word. Bandhuratmatmanastasya. Bandhuhu means, you know, a bandhu. Bandhu is a relative. Somebody who is a well-wisher of oneself. Bandhuhu atma. Atmanaha tasya. You become a well-wisher for yourself. What kind of a person tasya atmanah sa atma bandhuhu yena atma atmaiva jitaha. To whom who has conquered himself, the one who has attained self-mastery, that person, tasya, for that person, atma atmanaha bandhuhu, he is his own friend. Tu, but yena atma atmanaha shatrutve varteta, the one who has not won over himself, the one without self-mastery, atma eva shatru vat, his own self is an enemy for himself. Atma anatmanaha yasya atma jito nasti saha anatmanaha. So it is, anatma is defined like that. Anatma means yasya atma, who by himself, jitaha na asti, he has not conquered himself, that person is called as an anatma here. So he who has conquered himself, this himself is actually his mind. So whoever has conquered his mind body by his effort, by himself. So atma, 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 the word is repeatedly used, but every usage points to a different meaning there. One is his effort, the other is mind here. Two things. One who has conquered his self, which is his body mind, by his effort, he is a friend of himself. So that himself is that person. So, but to him, to that Atma who has not subdued his self, so varteta Atma eva shatruvat, who has not subdued himself, his own self acts as an enemy. Jitatma bandhuhu ajitatma shatruhu. That is the axiom here. Who has won himself, Jita Atma, meaning who has all his senses and mind under control. That person is a Jitatma. He is a bandhu for himself. He is a friend of himself. The other one, for him whose mind, body, intellect, everything is driving him, rather than him having a control over it, like a chariot where the horses pull it, but not at the command of the charioteer, but by the will of the horses themselves, then the destination is not set by the charioteer. The destination is set by the horses. So obviously he is somebody who is an Ajita Atma. For him, he himself is the Shatru. So let us look at the Bhashyam. Bandhuhu Atma Atmanaha Tasya Atmanaha Sa Atma Bandhuhu Yena Atma Atmaiva Jitaha. His self is the friend of himself who has self-control, who has brought the body, mind and senses under control. And Atma, what is Atma here? Shankaracharya defines it. Karya Karana Sanghato Yena Vashikritaha. Beautiful phrase. That by which we engage in activity in this world, which is our body mind. That is the Karya Karana Sanghata. Those are the instruments that are given to us, our body, mind, intellect, buddhi, manas, and our jnanendriya, karmendriyas. With that, we engage in this world. That this package of body, mind, intellect is called Karya Karana Sanghata, because that is what is used to indulge in an activity. This is the instrument by which we indulge in an activity. So he calls it Karya Karana Sanghata Yena Vashikritaha. These tools are under his control. So that Atma is called Jitendriya Ityarthaha, who has sense control. Basically, it comes to a very simple thing. Whoever has sense control is somebody who is a friend of himself. अनात्मनस्तु अजितात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे शत्रुभावे वर्तेत आत्मैव शत्रुवत् यथा अनात्मा शत्रुः आत्मनः अपकारी तथा आत्मा आत्मन अपकारे वर्तेत इत्यर्थः. But in the case of a man who is not who does not have self control, his own self hurts him. Apakari is the word used by Shankaracharya. So he himself, he does something bad to himself. He is an apakari. Like how enemies hurt him, he injures himself. Tata atma atmana apakare varteta ityarthaha. Shatruhu vat, like an enemy. So if you have sense control, Bhagavan says you are a friend of yourself. If you do not have sense control, then you are a foe to yourself. The intent is start practicing self-control, because only through self-control that you can have the level of mind that engages in quietude, and only with that mind dhyana is possible. That is how this becomes an anga of dhyana. So Karya Karana Sanghata, we saw that the body, mind, intellect is the one that Shankaracharya says is the instrument by which we engage in this world. This is something to remember. Another is befriend yourself. That is something that Shankaracharya says, which is very beautiful. He says, befriend yourself at all levels. At the physical level, at the mental level, at the intellectual level, be friendly to yourself. In fact, that is the only way by which you can win over yourself. Because if you start fighting your nature, you might not succeed. So rather, you befriend yourself and make your nature adhere to dharma. That is the beauty of karma yoga and karma phala sannyasa, where you're not changing anything physical, or you're not changing the circumstances. Rather, you are realigning your circumstances to dharma, and you're realigning your attitude to Ishwararpana buddhi, where you are giving up the longing for the fruit of action. So that is how this realignment happens. So
Arvindji,
yes.
that time.
Sorry?
So the next verse I can read with you.
Yeah,
Next
please.
verse.
Yes.
Sorry.
No. So, now, what is the benefit that a person gains by befriending himself? Let us look at it. Anjali ji, let's read.
Okay.
Jitatmanaha prashantasya
Jitatmana prashantasya
paramatma samahitaha
Paramatma samahita
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु
Shitosna sukha dukeshu
तथा मानापमानयोः.
Tata mana pamanayo
Yeah, you can read the entire verse. Please give it a try.
Jitatmana prashantasya prashantasya paramatma samahita shitona sukha
Shita,
duke
Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. So it is Shitoshna, Sukha, Dukkeshu.
Sitosha sukha dukeshu tata mana pamanayo.
Yeah, Mana Apamanayoho. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukkeshu tatha mana apamanayoho. So Bhagavan says Jita Atma. Yena Atma Jitaha Asti. Whoever has attained self-mastery, he called him as Jitatma. So, for that person, Prashantasya, that person is calm. Sham means calm. It all comes from the same root, Shanti, Sham, Shambhu. He is basically conflict free. He is at peace with himself. Prashantasya jitatmanaha. He is contented with himself. He is at peace with himself. For that person, Paramatma is Bhagavan. So we are Jivatma, he is Paramatma. So this Jitatma is the Jivatma and Bhagavan is the Paramatma. That Paramatma, the Supreme Self, Sama Ahitaha. He is well established for this person. Sama Ahitaha. Samahitaha. Samahitaha is Samahitaha. He is well established for this person, meaning he has completely blessed this person. Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha. And this person, how do you know that he has the blessings of Bhagavan? He says, Shita. Shita means cold. Ushna means hot. Sukha means pleasure. Dukkha means pain. So all these dichotomies, Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana. So Mana is to honor and Apamana is to dishonor. So even though he goes through all these different emotions, he is Tatha, this person is Prashantaha. He is at peace with himself. So, Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkeshu, Tatha, Mana, Apamanayoho, Prashantasya Jitatmanaha, Paramatma, Samahitaha. The self-disciplined and serene man's supreme self is constant. It doesn't change in heat, cold, pleasure, pain, honor, dishonor, and so on. So, all these emotions come through for this person in his mind and it goes, but still he remains blessed through all these emotions. So, how does this blessing come through? This blessing comes through by controlling his senses. So for that person, whoever has engaged in self-control or sense control, Bhagavan blesses him, is the message there. Let us look at the Bhashyam. Jitatmanaha. Again, the definition of Atma here is Karya Karana Sanghata Atma. We already saw what Karya Karana Sanghata is. These are the instruments, the body, mind, intellect are the instruments with which we interact with the world, and this is called Karya Karana Sanghata. Atma Jito Yena Saha Jitatma Tasya Jitatmanaha. So for that person who has control over himself, if he or she, that Jitatma, he enjoys Prashantasya Prasannataha Karanasya Sataha. So he Prashantasya Prasannantah Karanasya. Antahkarana is his mind. He enjoys a very serene mind. So he enjoys the tranquility in his mind. So Prasanna Antahkarana. He has a very Prasanna Antahkarana. In fact, it will reflect in his face. That is the reason why when you see Mahatmas, their face radiates, because that face radiates that peace that they enjoy in themselves. That Prashantah Karanasya Sataha. Shankaracharya immediately says that is possible only for a saint. Sataha, and that too Sannyasinaha. This sannyasi is not only ashrama sannyasi. This sannyasi is a karma pala sangha sannyasi. That is the lakshana of the sannyasi here. That sannyasi Paramatma samahitaha sakshad atma bhavena vartate ityartaha. So for this karma phala sannyasi, Paramatma samahitaha, the real Atma, he is able to experience Paramatma. he realizes the real self, Paramatma. Samahitaha. Ahita means he is at par with that Paramatma, meaning he is able to realize that Paramatma. Kincha, because of that, Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkeshu, Tatha, Mane, Apamane cha, Manapamanayoho, Puja, Paribhavayoho, Samahasyat. Because of that, Shita, cold, heat, pleasure, pain, honor, dishonor, Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana is equal to them. Meaning external factors that affect body like cold, heat, cold and heat, and factors that affect the mind like pleasure and pain, and factors that affect one's ego, which are honor and dishonor. So at all personality levels, at the physical personality, Shita Ushna affects us, and at our mental level, Sukha and Dukkha affects us, and at the ego level, intellect level, Mana Apamana affects us. So this person, at all the different levels, he is at peace with himself. He is a witness to all these experiences. So that person is Jitendriya. This is the state of the person earlier mentioned as Yoga Rudha by Bhagavad. He is at the summit of yoga. He is the one described here, Jitatma. Jnaneshwara, in Jnaneshwari, I read the commentary for this verse. It is very beautiful. It is a long one. He says, because this yogi has disassociated his body and mind, the self, he is like the space. So he says, if the pot, which is the his mind, his intellect, his body is like the pot that is enclosing a certain space. Now, if that his body, his mind, his senses, it has lowered itself, it has become very minimal, then that space actually merges with the universal space. So he describes Paramatma Samahitaha that way. So actually he is experiencing Paramatma, which is the universal space. His space, which was inside this small pot, was that Jivatma, which was much limited. Now, because he is able to minimize his ego, minimize his self-identity, he is able to experience that Paramatma, like how a space that is enclosed within a pot, when it gets out, then it merges with the universal space. Like that, Paramatma Samahitaha. So and the beauty is that as much self-control we practice, that much tranquility you can enjoy. So that is another message given by him. That was very beautiful. In fact, the different commentators have taken different examples and established their point, and most of it is all aligned to the same idea. Manaeva Manushyanam Karanam Bandhamokshayoho is quoted by Ramanujacharya in these circumstances, and says, hey, work on your mind, work on your intellect, and so on. This Samahitaha is a very powerful phrase. Paramatma Samahitaha. One of the modern commentators to Bhagavad Gita, Swami Ramana Tirtha, who was called as Nuchur Venkatraman in his previous ashrama, who is a very great sannyasi who lives now. He has written a commentary called Vyasa Aushadham, a very beautiful commentary on Gita. It is like a Manana Grantha. It is something that can be read for meditation. It is written in English, so that is another beauty of that Vyasa Aushadham. Yeah, though he has written several Sanskrita works, but this he purposefully wrote in English. It is a very beautiful one. And in dealing with this verse, he mentions an incident and about in the life of Ramana Bhagavan. And I have heard that incident from my family people too, because in my maternal side of the family, they took Diksha from Jagadishwara Shastri, who was a direct disciple of Bhagavan, Ramana Bhagavan. And this is a incident that happened between Ramana Bhagavan and this Jagadishwara Shastri. Jagadishwara Shastri was in his 20s. He was with Ramana Bhagavan. He lived with Ramana Bhagavan. And one day, this was before Ramana Ashram and all came. So Bhagavan was living in Skandashram on that hill. And both of them were walking on top of the hill. It was scorching that day. Tiruvannamalai today, if you have gone, it is all green and lushy and stuff like that. Even in my younger days, I have seen it was nothing like this. It was a very, very dry and hot place. No matter 365 days, it was just hot. They have done a wonderful job of planting trees and so on nowadays. But Bhagavan and Jagadishwara Shastri were just walking up the hill. And there were no shade because they were walking on the rocks. It was just so hot. Bhagavan was just walking, Ramana Bhagavan was just walking without any sign of discomfort. After 2 or 3 minutes, Jagadishwar Shastri just couldn't walk. He just, like, the heat was so intense on those rocks that he didn't know what to do. He simply screamed at Bhagavan and said, Bhagavan, I'm unable to walk anymore. This is so hot. How are you able to walk? Bhagavan turns around and looks at Jagadishwara Shastri and says, Jagadisha, you think the sun is feeling this heat? For this, he didn't have an answer. He just looked at Bhagavan like that. Obviously, sun is not feeling that heat, even though he is the source of the heat. You imagine yourself as the sun. You attain Aikya Bhava with the sun. Suryoham. He said it like a mantra. Suryaha aham. Suryoham. Bhagavan simply turned around and said this. And immediately Jagadishwara Shastri absorbed that teaching like as though he is like not just getting the teaching and then working on realizing and all that for years, not like that. This just happened in a few seconds within the conversation between these two, and he just says Suryoham. Immediately that Surya Samahitatvam, the one that Bhagavan says here, Paramatma Samahitaha, you become one with Paramatma at that time. So he repeats Suryoham and gets into that bhavana that he is Surya, and he starts walking. At that point of time, he comes out of Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana, all that just vanishes. Of course, you need somebody, a Mahatma like Ramana Bhagavan, to be able to impart that in seconds, and it might take us several lifetimes to work on it when we work on it. But this incident, I have heard it from my, I've seen Jagadishwara Shastri in my younger days as well. He was in our house for some time. He lived for a very long time, till his 90s. So this incident is quoted by Ramana Charanatirtha as a comment in the commentary of this verse, where Paramatma Samahitaha. You experience that once you break the dichotomy of Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana, and when the mind is so clear that it reflects Paramatma, at that point you enjoy Param Samyam Upaiti, says Brahma Sutra. Param Samyam Upaiti. You are enjoying that. That is the reason it is very poetically and very beautifully described in the Bhakti tradition. I'll just mention this and then move on. In the Bhakti tradition, if you are a Krishna Bhakta, you know what you become after you leave this body? You become a gopi. If you are a Vishnu Bhakta, you become somebody in Vaikuntha with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. Same. Paramatma Samahitaha. The same way if you are a Shiva Bhakta, in Shiva Loka, you become a Shiva Gana. This is very beautifully described in the Bhakti tradition, where you are there. There is no difference between this form of Vishnu and that form of Vishnu. All of them are Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma Dhari in Vaikuntha. All of them look the same. Paramatma Samahitaha. It is a very poetic way. It is not as though like so many people with 4 hands are standing there. Then it's not like that. It's not a physical description. Rather, it is a description of a way to say that you have attained a certain level of union with Paramatma. Paramatma Samahitaha. I'll move on. Of course, if we get into some episodes of some Mahatmas, it always lightens. So this yoga arudha is further described by Bhagavan. Can somebody read with me, please?
Yeah, I can read that.
Thank you. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma
Jnana Vijnana Triptatma
Kutastho Vijitendriyaha
Kutastho Vijitendriyaha
Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi
Yukta Ichyuchyate Yogi
Samaloštashma Kanchanaha
Samaloštashma Kanchanaha
Jnana Vijnana Triptatma
Tatma
Kutastho Vijitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloštashma Kanchanaha. Wonderful. Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma Kutasthaha Vijitendriyaha Yuktaha Iti Uchyate. He said like that. Uchyate Yogi Sama Loštha Ashma Kanchanaha. Yuktaha Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. So beautiful terms here. Jnana and Vijnana. Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. Yasya Atma Jnanena Vijnane cha Tripto Asti Saha Jnana Vijnana Triptatma. Whose Atma, whose self is satisfied with 2 things. One is, or which is saturated with 2 things. One is knowledge, jnana, and then that knowledge has to transform into wisdom, vijnana. So that is when it comes as a practice. It becomes natural to him. So jnana vijnana tripta atma kutasthaha. Yaha kute tishtati saha kutasthaha. Kuta means Trikuta, Kailasa Kuta, and so on. Kuta means the summit. He is at the top. Who is in the summit, situated in the top? Kutasthaha. He is obviously Vijitendriyaha. Yena Indriyani Vijitani. Whose senses are controlled. Yuktaha. He is called as a yukta. Yukta means a well-aligned person. Yuj is the dhatu, and that's the same dhatu is the one used to make the word yoga. So whoever is a yogi is a yukta. Yuktaha. He is a well-aligned person. Iti. Thus uchyate. It is said. Yogi. A yogi. Sama. Loshta Ashma Kanchanaha. Yasya Loshtancha Ashmancha Kanchanancha Samani Santi Saha Samaloshta Ashma Kanchanaha. he is one who considers earth, stone, gold. Loshta, Ashma, Kanchana. Kanchana means gold. Ashma means a stone. Loshta means an earth, a pot made out of earth, a vessel made out of earth. So he is somebody who considered the utility of it might be the same, but the material is different. So you can make a vessel out of earth vessels, and then stone is a little much more from a life perspective, it is much more long lasting, and then made out of gold, that is even more precious and beautiful to look at. This person looks at all of this from the utility perspective and treats them the same. Sama loshta ashma kanchanaha. So one whose mind is established in the self, Atma, who has self-mastery over his body and mind, Vijitendriya, for him something precious, utilitarian, or something common, like Loshta, Ashma and Kanchana, all the same. So let us look at the Bhashyam. Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. Jnanam Shastrokta Padarthanam Parijnanam. Jnanam means Shastrokta Padarthanam Parijnanam. So he has understood the content of the Shastra. Vijnanantu Shastrartho Jnatanam Tataiva Swanubhava Karanam. Beautiful word used by Shankaracharya. He says, making the knowledge his own experience, his realization, Swanubhava, Anubhava Karanam is Vijnana. So he defines Jnana as Shastra Jnana, he defines Vijnana as Swanubhava. So at one point of time, it is an intellectual understanding for him. Now it is not an intellectual understanding, it is a realization. Tabhyam jnana vijnanabhyam triptaha sanjata alam pratyayaha atma. So because of that, he is contented. Alam pratyayaha. It is enough. He feels complete. Antakaranam yasya. So this atma means antakarana. So every time Bhagavan uses the same word Atma all over the place, but every Atma has a different meaning. So here the Atma means Antakarana. So his mind, Antakarana, is completely satisfied. Yasya saha jnana vijnana triptatma. That person is Kutasthaha, Aprakampyaha. He does not change. He has attained the state that is complete. Kutasthaha bhavati ityarthaha. Vichitendriyascha. So he has to be somebody who has conquered his senses. Ya idrishaha yuktaha samahitaha iti sa uchyate katyate. So this person is called samahita. So that person, sa yogi samaloštashma kanchanaha loshta asma kanchanani samani yasya saha samaloštashma kanchanaha. For that person, a mud, stone or gold object produces the same idea. Rather than three different levels of importance a common man sees in it, he sees it from an utilitarian perspective when it is made out of three different things of the same nature. So he does not see a difference. So the one beautiful thing is Shankaracharya, in not just in this instance where you see, he differentiates between intellectual understanding and realization whenever possible. So Bhagavan also points it. That is the reason why he says Jnana Vijnana. And intellectual understanding is the Shastra Jnana. It is like what I have, Shastra Jnana. Swanubhava is different. That you have to be a Mahatma. Like you have Swanubhava, I have Shastra Jnana. So Swanubhava is when that becomes realization. So this Shankaracharya will say throughout, he uses different languages, words for it. He sometimes he'll use the word jnana for Shastra Jnana and Samyak Jnana for realization. Here Bhagavan uses the word Vijnana. So it means the same. And it just shows that they have gotten to a certain level of maturity. Samalostasma kanchanaha. So obviously, one example that is given is that for what as a child things used to bother us, things used to excite us, and so on. When you attain a certain level of maturity, that doesn't happen to you anymore. So this yogi has attained a certain level of maturity that he looks at the world from an utilitarian perspective, not from a value perspective. So value is something that is very arbitrary, that we have attached to things. Utility is different. You need a cup to take a cup of glass of water and comfortably drink it. So it doesn't matter whether it is an earthly one or a stone one or a gold one. So a yogi is somebody who has gotten to that level of maturity. Incidentally, this level of maturity is described in Bhagavatam, and when different bhaktas are their life is dealt in Bhagavatam in the first 9 skandhas. The Bhagavatam is like a very beautiful tool that makes you travel through a journey. So it first prepares you through the first 9 parts, and then finally Dashama Skanda becomes Krishna Charita, where the Amrita Rasam of Krishnanubhava is provided to you. In Saptama Skanda, I think, yes, Ambarisha Charitra occurs. Ambarisha, you know Ambarisha, he's a very famous king. He is associated with Ekadashi. 2 days ago it was Sunday was Ekadashi. Ambarisha, it describes what sort of a person Ambarisha is. He is Saptadvipadhipati. He is the one supreme commander of the entire world, not just Bharatavarsha, Bharatakanda and all. He Saptadvipavati Bhumi, he was the one who was ruling over it completely. That level of command he had on the entire world, but it describes him as somebody griheshu dareshu suteshu bandushu dvipottamasyandana vaji vastushu akshayyaratna bharanambaradishu anantakosheshvakarod asanmatihi. It says griheshu, dareshu, suteshu, bandushu, all the things that he has. Akshayyaratna abharanadishu, he had innumerable amount of wealth. Dvipottama syandana vaji vastushu, he had in fact the best horses that were available from Arabia at that time, actually, because he was the commander he was commanding the entire world and was ruling over it with different kings all over the place, but they were all under his umbrella. But he considered all of this as karot asanmatihi. He knew that all of this have just utilitarian purpose, but from an absolute reality perspective, these are all unreal for him. So he had that level of Atmajnana, Indriya Nigraha. He was somebody who had that Vijitendriya and who was a Kutastha. Just to show his greatness, Bhagavan Durvasa does a small Leela. It is not, many people think that Durvasa is like somebody who did not know or anything like that. That is not how Bhagavatam presents it. In fact, Bhagavatam opens with the word Bhagavan Durvasa by saying that Durvasa very well knew who Ambarisha was. But the world did not know him. So he just wanted to play a small prank so that the greatness of Ambarisha would come out. So obviously you know the story. He goes during an Ekadashi day. He was in Vrindavan at that time and he was performing Ekadashi Vrata there. He goes and says that I'll come for Dwadashi Parana for the meal, and then he goes, does Jalastamba and does meditation in Yamuna and forgets the time, And Dwadashi was going to be over, so he goes, asks the pandits around him. Ambarisha asks them what to do, and they said, like, you can do achaman and finish your vrata, and you can eat when Durvasa comes back. But then Durvasa comes to know of this and says that, oh, this person broke the fast without even me being there. He was so furious, so he just like pulls a little bit of his hair and conjures a demon and sends it towards the, Ambarisha. But the beauty where Bhagavatam shows is that na chachala padan nripaha. Nripaha padam na chachala. That when the whole demon was like rushing towards Ambarisha to just swallow him up, he did not even move an inch. Na chachala padan. He did not even take another step back. He was just standing there. The reason is he knew what the world was. So that level of Jitendriya and Kutastha he was. And obviously that demon was destroyed by Sudarshana Bhagavan, who came from Ambarisha himself, from his heart, from the Salagrama Shila as well. And then he goes all around the world, and Bhagavan Vishnu tells him that you go back to Ambarisha and ask his forgiveness. Then he comes back, and then he falls at the feet of Ambarisha. At that point of time, Ambarisha lifts him up and then does a namaskar to Durvasa Muni and says, you are a Mahatma. And he knew that this Mahatma is just doing a prank so that my greatness can be brought out. But anyway, this characteristic of how a yogi has controlled his body mind is discussed when every Bhakta Charitra is discussed in the Puranas. So that is the point that I wanted to bring out. Let us do at least one more verse. Can somebody read with me, please? Anyone?
I can read.
Yeah, let's read. Suhrin, this is the whole word is a samasa pada, so I'll split it, and then Suhrit Mitraha Udasina Madhyastha Dveshya Bandhushu Sadhushu Apicha Papeshu Samabuddhihi Visishyate. These are the words that are there. So we'll read the first half. Suhrin Mitraryudasina
Suhrin Mitran Yudasina
Madhyasthadveshya Bandhushu
Madhya Dveshya Bandhushu
Sadhushvapicha Papeshu
Sadhush Papicha Papeshu
Samabuddhir Visishyate.
Samabuddhir Vishishyate
Suhrin Mitraryudasina Madhyasthadveshya Bandhushu Sadhushvapicha Papeshu Samabuddhir Visishyate. Suhrit, a well-wisher is a Suhrit. Mitraha is a friend. Ari is an enemy, a foe. Madhyastaha, a neutral person. Dveshya is somebody who hates you. Bandhu is a relative. All kinds of various people. Sadhu is a saint. Api, all of this, cha, and papeshu, people who commit sin. Papinaha. Papeshu, to all of them. Samabuddhihi, an equal view. Samabuddhihi, yasya buddhihi samaha asti saha samabuddhihi. He looks at all these people the same way. Visishyate, the exalted person looks at all these people the same way. The one whose vision is the same with reference to a benefactor, a friend, a foe, an acquaintance, an arbiter, a person who evokes dislike, a relative, good people, and even towards sinners, that person is the most exalted. Saha samabuddhihi visishyate. So let us look. The earlier verse, he said from a material perspective. Sama, Loshma, Ashma, Kanchanaha is all from material perspective. So it is easy to look at materials and things in an equal way, but to look at people in an equal view is very hard. That is the reason why Bhagavan gives two different things. You look at both Prakriti as Ishvara, you also look at all the Chetana Vastu, Achetana, Chetana, both. This person is able to have an equal attitude towards it. Let us look at the Bhashyam. Suhrit ityadi shlokardham yekam padam. So Shankaracharya said, hey, this Suhrit mitraryudasena madhyastadveshya bandhushu is a single phrase, single pada, single word actually. Suhran mitraryudasena madhyastadveshya bandhushu. Actually, from a reading perspective, you should read it like that. But sometimes we split it in Anushtup because it is very hard to read. So at that point, Suhran Mityaryudasena Madhyastadveshya Bandhushu. So Udasineshu Madhyastadveshya Bandhushu is how it should be. But that will throw you off from a meter perspective. So read it however you can. Suhran Mitraryudasena Madhyastadveshya Bandhushu. Suhran Ityadi Shlokardham Yekam Padam. This is a single word. Okay. Suhrit iti pratyupakaram anapekshya upakarta. Suhrit is somebody who will help you out without any expectation. Pratyupakaram anapekshya upakarta. So Shankaracharya has to differentiate all these people. So Mitram, Snehavan. Sneha, he's a friend, he loves you. Arihi Shatruhu. Shatru is one whom you hate. Udasinaha. Na kasyatitu paksham bhajate. Beautiful. Udasina is somebody who does not take any side. Na kasyatitu paksham bhajate. Madhyastaha. So between Udasina and Madhyastha, he has to show a variation. Look at how beautiful he shows it. Yo viruddhayoho ubhayoho hitaishi. A Madhyastha. In fact, this is a very beautiful one. A Madhyastha is somebody who is a judge, or somebody who is in between two persons who are in conflict. So that person, he is a well-wisher for both sides. So in the Nyaya Shastra, when debates happen, how should a Madhyastha be? The one who decides the judgment has to be somebody who is Ubhayoho Hitaishi. He should be somebody who has equal welfare for both of them. So that is the quality. If he is going to side with one, or if he is going to side with one idea or one ideology, then he is not fit to be a middle person as a Madhyastha. So Madhyastha Lakshana is Viruddhayoho Ubhayoho Hitaishi. That is a Madhyastha. Dveshyaha Atmanaha Apriyaha. Dveshi is somebody, Shatru is, he is thinking that you are an enemy. You might not have enmity towards him, but Dveshya is somebody for whom you do not have favorable opinion about. Dveshyaha Atmanaha Apriyaha. Bandhuhu Sambandhi Ityeshu. Sambandhi, he is related to you. Sadhushu Shastra Anuvartishu api. Sadhu is defined as somebody who, a sadhu is one who follows the Shastra. Apicha Papeshu Pratisiddhakarishu Sarveshu Yeteshu Samabuddhihi Kaha Kinkarma Ityavyaprita Buddhirityartha. He has an equal attitude. He is able to look at the Atma, not the actions of that person. He is not able, he goes beyond the actions, and he is able to see the Atma of that person. That Atma is Paramatma. So, Antarbahishya Tatsarvam Vyapya Narayana Stitaha. So, Sarvam Krishnamayam, Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat, Sarvam Shivamayam. So, all of this is Paramatma. Visishyate, Vimuchyate, iti va pathantaram. Oh, see, look at this. Visishyate, here the Samabuddhir Visishyate. I think there is an alternative reading to this called Samabuddhir Vimuchyate. That shows that there were alternative reading during Shankaracharya's time itself. Visishyate Yogarudhanam Sarvesham Ayam Uttamaha Ityarthaha. So he is the best of all the yogis. He is out of all the Yogarudha, he is the best. So this Upatesha is given by Bhagavan that do not look at the plurality of the world but the one Atma. To Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam again. Parasvabhava karmani na prashamsen na garhayet vishwam ekatmakam pashyan prakritya purushena cha. The 11th skanda, 8th adhyaya, first shloka of that adhyaya in Uddhava Gita. This is the Upadesha given by Bhagavan. He says, Parasvabhava karmani na prashamsen na garhayet. Do not talk about it, nor you take it to your mind. Vishwam ekatmakam pashya. You look at this world as the one reflection of one Atma. Prakritya Purushena cha. Both Prakriti and Purusha as the manifestation of one Atma. So do not practice praise or insult anybody. Behold the entire world with both Prakriti and Purusha as the one Atma. So Jnaneshwara in Jnaneshwari for this verse gives a beautiful analogy where you look at all the different ornaments made out of gold the same way because they are all made out of gold. From a utilitarian perspective, they might be a bangle is different from a chain, which is different by a nose pin, which is different from an earring. But when you look at it from a value perspective, they are all gold. The same way, everything in this world is just Atma. Beautiful analogy by Jnaneshwara. With that, we will conclude today's satsang. There is one more verse. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yatachattatma nirashir aparigrahaha. And with that concludes the Bhiranga sadhana. And now Bhagavan is going to move to how to sit in meditation. Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanam atmanaha. And how to slowly control your breath, how to go about controlling your mind and so on. And this process of dhyana is very beautifully and systematically dealt by Bhagavan. Let us look at it in further satsangs. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Tatsat Krishnarpanamastu. Shubharatri everybody.